Hey guys, I just have one question for you. Do you want to be happy? If the answer is yes, stay tuned because at the risk of sounding overly dramatic, I believe that these maple pecan sticky buns have the potential to change a person's life for the better. To put it another way, if you have a nut allergy, these may be worth powering through for. Obviously don't make these if you're allergic to nuts. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, I'm Taylor, and like many from-home workers, I have been making sourdough bakes ever since the earliest days of the 2020 coronavirus pandemic. If you want to get a free printout of some of the best sourdough tips and tricks that I have picked up over the years, go ahead and hit the link in the description. Now onto the bake. In order to make these heaven-sent buns of stickiness, you will need the following ingredients: 550 grams of bread flour, 90 grams of granulated sugar, half a teaspoon of cinnamon, a quarter of a nutmeg freshly ground or an eighth of a teaspoon of nutmeg, 250 grams of whole milk, 2 large eggs or 100 grams of eggs, 150 grams of active sourdough starter, and 110 grams of unsalted butter that has been thoroughly softened. For the filling, you will need 3 tablespoons or 42 grams of butter, 50 grams of granulated sugar, 50 grams of dark brown sugar, and 15 grams of ground cinnamon. Finally, for the topping, you will need 175 grams of maple syrup, 15 grams of vanilla extract, and 175 grams of pecans. To get started, feed your starter at least 4 hours in advance to make sure that it's active and bubbly by the time you're ready to mix your ingredients. In the bowl of your stand mixer, combine your bread flour, sugar, spices, and salt. Give it a good whisk to mix it all up evenly together. Then in a separate bowl, combine your wet ingredients, your milk, sourdough starter, and eggs. Whisk those up to combine. Then with your paddle attachment on your stand mixer, start mixing the dry ingredients on low and slowly add in your wet ingredients, mixing to just combine. Use your hand or a spatula to search the bowl for any excess flour and mop it up with the mass of dough. Then cover the bowl and let it rest for 30 minutes. When you come back to it, put on your dough hook attachment on your stand mixer and start kneading on medium-low speed. Then, 1 tablespoon at a time, start adding your soft butter, waiting to add the next piece until the last one has fully incorporated into the dough. There's a lot of butter in this dough, so it could take a while. Don't rush this process. It takes time for flour to absorb the fat, and you don't want to end up with a fat-phobic dough. After you've incorporated the butter, use your hand or a spatula to scrape the bottom of the bowl and form a sort of ball shape with the dough. Then set the dough hook on medium speed and knead for 8 to 10 minutes. Your dough is ready when it passes the window pane test, which just means if it breaks apart right away when it's stretched, it's not ready. Be patient with this dough. Once it is ready, cover it up and let it ferment for around 8 hours, making sure to keep an eye on it. The dough should have doubled in size roughly. Once it's gone through this first ferment stage, transfer it to the fridge and let it rest for at least an hour, preferably overnight. The following morning, make your topping and filling for the rolls. Start by greasing a 9x11 baking dish with butter. To make the topping, in a 350-degree oven, toast your pecans for 10 minutes until lightly toasted. While those are toasting, heat up the maple syrup and vanilla extract on medium-high heat in a saucepan. Stir frequently as it comes to a boil. Then, as it boils, keep stirring it occasionally and let it boil for 30 seconds. Then, take it off the heat, let it cool down for a few minutes, and pour it onto your greased baking dish. Once your pecans are ready, transfer them to a cutting board and give them a medium chop. Then sprinkle those over the top of the maple syrup vanilla glaze. To make the filling, combine your sugars and cinnamon by whisking to combine. Melt the butter over low heat until it's fully melted and allow it to cool slightly. Then remove your dough from the fridge. Empty it out onto a clean workspace and dust it with flour generously. Then begin to roll it out into a long rectangle shape. It should get to between 1/4 and 1/2 inch thick. Take your time and don't fight the dough. If it's not moving, don't force it. Just let it sit for a little while and come back later. Then brush it down with the melted butter and sprinkle the cinnamon sugar over the surface, leaving a 1/2 inch perimeter uncovered. Then carefully roll up the dough into a tight log. You can trim off the end pieces and then mark off your rolls into 12 pieces. I like to divide my rolls into quarters and then divide each quarter up into 3 equal pieces. Then place each roll onto the pecan glaze. Cover the baking dish and let these puff up a little bit so that they're just touching each other. Then in a 350-degree oven, bake your rolls for 35 to 40 minutes. Make sure that these get nicely golden brown on top. Give these only a few minutes to cool before turning them out onto a cooling rack. You don't want the pecans sticking to the baking dish. Then wait another 30 to 60 minutes before diving in. Although, for the sake of full disclosure, I did not wait to give these a try, and the ensuing tummy ache was more than worth it. Guys, it's truly hard to state how good these taste. They are stunning. A treat of epic indulgence and power. You could turn a mortal enemy into a friend with one of these bad boys. It's genuinely hard to know what to say. The maple syrup and vanilla come together and make a completely new flavor. The dough is mostly butter. I give these a 10 out of 10, hands down. Let us know what you think about this one in the comments, and make sure to check out our free sourdough tips and tricks download in the description, and subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss any of the other amazing bakes that we've got coming up in our 12 days of sourdough this Christmas season. Merry Christmas.